What's happening, everyone? And welcome to El Chile Boxing Talk. I'm glad that you all are here, man. And we got George with Off the Ropes Boxing, as always, the hired gun of El Chile. Run PMC is here. And the legendary No Paul Boxianos is here, man. And we got one hell of a loaded show. We've had some breaking news over the last couple of days, man. So there's just a lot of boxing that we want to talk about with the homies here and the homies in the chat, man. And I want to give a shout out to JC and Remy, who are here early, man. Thank you so much. And Annalie Jeremilo's here. And from the shoe shine, Philly Irish Drew Evo is here, man. So we're glad you're all here. And let's get into it, man. Like, I want to talk about what happened over the weekend. Lomachenko wins, and people are talking about his current form because he might be fighting Haney next. So I want to know what you guys think, man. We saw the fight. Is Lomachenko still in his current form? George, what do you think about the fight, and what do you think about Lomachenko currently? Do you think he's past peak?
First, I I'm not gonna say I wasn't very surprised how it turned out. Um, yes, Ortiz fought Jamal Herring, um, and then he fought Ordonez or Ordonio. Ordonio was another prospect. They fought to a draw. He showed he was tough, and same thing against Jamal Herring. With Remy. Yeah, he showed out against Herring. Herring's supposed to be like a vet. What you expect from a veteran to test the younger guy coming up to see exactly where this younger guy stands or where he's at, and it showed here in this fight. And I think what it is with these guys when they come in against Lomachenko, I feel like they're already a couple rounds behind because who they're in there with. They're facing Lomachenko, so most of these guys get intimidated. Ortiz being his former sparring partner, I think they said he actually got Lomachenko ready for Richard Comey. So he was pretty familiar with them, and in I guess some of the pre-fight interviews, he said that um, he didn't show everything to Lomachenko in there. Lomachenko was expecting for him to copy the same style or be similar to what Comey was. So I guess that's what he did in this fight. I'm sure he surprised Lomachenko the way he came out. He was not intimidated whatsoever. He did a lot of great things. You can tell he Lomachenko is usually a few steps ahead of these guys. In the beginning, Ortiz was right in that moment, right there in that moment of when Lomachenko was really good at switching angles or being able to circle around you. Ortiz was right there, 1 foot right in front, right as Lomachenko was able to get those angles. The first 4 rounds, I had it 3-1, and sometimes the guys on the ESPN panel, like, they're usually pretty biased. Um, it's hard to really say if they were biased on this one or not. I feel like they were pretty fair, I guess, as far as the first rounds went. Um, I felt like it was that way. It was 4-1, and then right around the fifth round, you see Lomachenko probably feeling the pressure, feeling that he had to do something else different or go to a different game plan in this fight, and he did. He hurt him. I think it was like a. He's really good at throwing a left hand jab, a left hand lead, and then he throws like the straight jab that is like a power jab, and he catches a lot of guys with this. And Pacquiao's really good at doing that same combination where he hits you with his left hand as a first punch, and then he follows up with like a power jab, and he hit Ortiz with that, and it was back and forth. Ortiz, I guess you could say, he started to pour it on a little bit towards the end of the fight, but Lomachenko being the more more of the veteran, being in these championship rounds, it was Ortiz's first time fighting 12 rounds, and it showed a little bit, but Ortiz was tough all the way through, man. And we got to give it to him. And I saw something that somebody said on social media is like, did Ortiz really lose? I mean, he lost on the scorecard. I do believe Lomachenko pulled this off at the end, but it was like a win-win situation for Ortiz because he showed out like, hey, you know what? I'm here in this division. What I did against Lomachenko and did really well at that division. He's going to give a lot of guys some issues, I believe, with his style. I mean, he doesn't really pack too much of a punch, but I just think he could tell he's a strong kid. And he's just kind of like Haney, big, strong. Um, as far as Lomachenko, past his prime, I wouldn't say quite past his prime, but I would say there's been like a steady decline. Um, I guess you could say, more noticeable in the Comey fight. Yeah, he had he was waving the referee to come in and stop the fight, but from that moment, Comey started doing some things where he was able to land some good body shots, get off some right hands. Um, and I remember then people were saying, well, does Lomachenko still have the killer instinct? Like, he had Comey in trouble. He had him in moments where he could have taken him out, and he didn't. We don't know why. Is it just he doesn't have that killer instinct anymore, or Comey was just that tough? Um, he's, regardless of him looking a little bit rusty and looking like he's still in a steady decline, he's still very competitive. And he could still pretty much beat most of all these guys in that division. I just don't see him beating the two best guys right now at 135. Now adding Shakur in there, and of course Haney. I'm more believing now that Haney. I'm more convinced now that Haney will beat Lomachenko.
All right, man. Dude, George, I agree with a lot of that stuff, dude. I saw the early rounds just like you did, brother. And then down the way, I thought it was pretty even, but I think Lomachenko did close out some of the rounds. I agree with you on everything that you said, and I also think that the right guy won, but I could also see Ortiz maybe getting a draw. I thought there were some swing rounds in this one, personally. Run, what did you think about Loma and his current form and his fight versus Ortiz?
First off, I think it was a a great fight. I was really impressed with Ortiz. I mean, I'll be real. I don't think I've watched him. Maybe one of the fights, maybe when he fought Joseph Adorno, but I just don't remember him at all. And I didn't watch the last Jamel Herring fight, so I had no idea who this guy was coming in. I was impressed with how explosive he was. Really, he was pretty impressive to me. Obviously, like going down the stretch, Loma sort of took over, and at the same time, Ortiz's stamina was fading. So that's usually happens with those guys that are a little more fast twitch as it goes. But with Loma, I mean, I think it showed his age a little and also a little ring rust. But I think he might be closer than what some people think to what he was before. Because I think his prime was quite a bit long ago. I thought his prime was back when he was fighting like Rigondeaux. So that's quite a bit, because I think it goes in other guys' prime. You might be there like skill wise, but you might be out of your division. But at the same time, you choose to make that division, so that's your choice. Like that's one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to boxers. Like when they said for Manny Pacquiao the whole time, oh, he's really at 147, but should be fighting at 135. He could even make 130 possibly. It's like, yes, then why don't you go down there, or why are you chugging Pedialyte right after? It just doesn't make sense when people say those things. You can't have both. But I think I didn't score the fight either. I watched it twice though, just because I thought it was I like those types of fights where it's sort of high skilled, but also you show the athleticism of both guys. But I could see Loma winning. I could see it being a draw, but I lean more to Loma winning. But then again, I didn't score it, so I might have scored it for Ortiz for all I know. But regards to Loma's future, I don't know. It'll be tough going from here on out for Loma if he wants to fight actually top guys. Like the Haney fight's problematic just because Haney, the way he's sort of showing himself with his length and how he's just really relying on that jab. And I don't know if Haney grabs and does like sort of like the hit and hold method. I don't know if Loma could deal with just the overall just strength that Haney has. But then again, I don't know if Haney's weight cut, the dramatic weight cut's going to go well, because eventually one of these times the weight cut's not going to go well for him, and then he'll be at disadvantage. So it just matters what type of Haney he gets. Shakur, that's another good one. I don't think I favor Loma in that one. I think I favor him more in the Haney fight than if he were to fight Shakur Stevenson. If you were to fight Tank, I think that's actually a really good fight. I don't know who I pick. I lean Tank, but I think that's closer. And then that's really, I think, what rounds out the 135 guys, if I were to think of them. But it's going to be tough going for Loma. But he does have what above these other guys. What he does have is experience now in the pro ranks against high level opposition. Whereas these other guys have experience, but let's be real. Like the opposition isn't that high for any of those guys I just mentioned. So we'll see. We'll see. But out of Loma, I think we just saw what we sort of expected to see: a little ring rust, a little age. Get it. What he did do though is he got hit a lot more than I'd ever seen him get hit, and not just with these glancing blows, with actually flush shots. Like Tiafimo was outboxing him, but it wasn't like he was landing heavy leather until sort of the last few rounds of the fight. He was more of just outboxing, outpointing him, but he was actually getting hit flush with harder punches I think Lopez was landing throughout the entire fight. So, and this was happening more frequently throughout this entire fight. So it's something to think about because that was Lomachenko's sort of thing was that they would always flash up the percentage of times it's lower than Floyd Mayweather, sort of what they do with Shakur Stevenson. The amount of times he gets actually touched and hit are significantly lower. So it's gonna be interesting to see, especially with the guys coming up. But then again, those guys don't really punch either. Shakur doesn't really punch. Haney doesn't really punch. Like I'm talking about, like actually like power punching. But we'll see. I would like to see those fights. Hopefully, like I mean, we all know what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. So if Loma just decides to retire and he has to go deal with that, obviously that's much bigger than boxing. So, but if everything allows him to box still, I'd like to see one of those fights. Hopefully, it would be in the first half of next year. I would really like that.
And I want to give a shout out to Philly Irish Drew Evo, who's in the house, and he says that Ortiz does some things better than Haney. He can fight on the inside and out, and Haney can't fight on the inside. Man, I do agree with that to an extent. I felt like Ortiz did some things better than Haney can do them, even if Haney's had a chance to watch this fight. Nopal, what do you think, man? Is Loma past prime, and do you think he has what it takes to still pull off a win against Devin the Dream Haney?
I think that he's right at that point where we're starting to see him slip a little bit, but I don't know if it's ring rust. I don't know what it was, so I still got to give him a chance to show us. And I'm hoping that the Haney fight is the next fight. Now, what I wanted to talk about is that you got a lot of people saying that Loma threw this fight on purpose, that he kind of let some weaknesses show, so and I've heard that with other boxers. I remember they were saying that with Triple G, that Triple G was getting hit on purpose to lure Canelo into a fight, and I don't know. I don't think that that's necessarily true with this situation because Loma's smaller. So if he did Devin Haney looks super big right there, bro, like overweight and shit.
Bro, that's what Loma said. He's like, damn, are you a lightweight or a heavyweight? There's a little bit of shit talking going on.
He looks like he's 160 right there. But yeah, man, it looks like this fight is possible, bro, and that's a happy thing about the situation. And I appreciate the fact that Loma's willing to fight all these guys, and he's I think that he's a little more humble than people. Maybe that loss to Delfimo humbled him a little bit, but he's not out there. He's admitting that he's not the A-side, stuff like that. And that's great to see from a guy who the red carpet they roll out for Lomachenko is big, bro. And when you got people jockeying you like that, it's hard to be down to earth like that and just admit that you're not really the A-side in this situation. But I appreciate that. And, I think he's got a good chance, man, of winning because there's a lot of things Haney just can't do, like Drew Evo says, he just can't fight on the inside. That's why he decides to clinch so much, We've seen him just walk up to guys and clinch, which, you don't really see that from other boxers. There's a reason because he doesn't maybe he does know how to fight on the inside, but he doesn't want to risk it because maybe he doesn't have the power. But, with this fight, for reals, I'm rooting on Loma, and I hope that this fight gets paid.
Very nice, dude. Lots of great considerations, dude. And yeah, it's a little bit of age versus the weight drain. I'll tell you this, like I do think that Lomachenko's past peak a little bit, dude. Like, I agree with a lot of points you all were making, man. I love hearing all that stuff. Dude, when I was watching that fight, you know what I missed? Like Lomachenko, he's still good at like applying like mental pressure, but he used to have like a real pawing kind of pumping little jab that he would use. Kind of like the way Spence opened up against Ugas, like just kind of like not hard ones, but just kind of like probing, like, kind of keep you busy, keep you distracted with that jab. He doesn't really do that at all anymore. Like, I don't know if it's just because he doesn't have the tank to, or maybe I'm not sure why. Maybe he just doesn't have the stamina. Maybe he's trying to protect his arms a little bit. I'm not sure what the reason is, but he doesn't do it like he used to. And to me, that was peak Loma. I do think that Haney has some slow footwork. I do think that he's not much of a puncher. I think Lomachenko does have that experience, but I think that aura, it's like you were talking about, Nopal, that aura is kind of gone. He's B-side now, and it's like, dude, this guy had so much damn hype, even after a loss. And, we hear the whole, well, like, look how many title fights he had, and I get it, and I should be fair, and, he has a very good resume. And a little Penny here wants to chime in. He says that Haney versus Loma is Islam versus Christian too. Well, that is true, but just keep in mind they both pray to the same Abrahamic God at the end of the day, you know. So if you don't know that, I'm not saying you don't, but if people don't know that they're praying to the same God, they'll both agree on that. And I want to give a shout out to I wish Philly Irish was here, man, because you know what? He's got a lot to say. Because I'll tell you this, dude, the even though he's not part of the PBC cult, man, they're licking their chops about this particular fight, man. And here's the other thing too, like they want this fight. I can tell. You know, here's the thing. I've heard them say things like, "Hey, Loma fans, are y'all really confident about this fight? Are you really that confident? You know, who do you think's gonna win? You think Loma's gonna win? All right. They were not talking like that when they were talking about Charlo versus Canelo. With Charlo versus Canelo, I could tell they didn't want it, man. I looked at them, I was like, nah, you don't really want it. You know what's gonna happen. With this one, though, I think they like their odds. I think Haney will come in as the favorite, but I would not be surprised if Loma can still pull off an upset because this is going to be another level for Haney. Kambosos wasn't all that great, in my opinion. This will be Devin Haney's biggest challenge, and I think that he will come in weaker. He's not going to come in any stronger, in my opinion. I think it's getting harder and harder for him to make that weight.
Yeah, I was trying to make a point too. When Opal said that he looks huge, he does look huge. Actually, I don't know if you guys saw, but there was pictures and videos of him actually the fight night. He's walking around with like a Dorito bag, eating chips. Like there's pictures of him like eating like on the night of this fight. So I don't know what that is. Is that something that he normally does? I don't know.
And Haney was doing that?
Yeah, Haney was doing it. Actually, yeah. He's wearing the same shirt right here, walking around with a blue bag of Cool Ranch Doritos.
Damn.
I think he was eating like a slice of pizza. He might be just be fucking with people. I don't know.
He probably had those ones that you get at the taqueria, huh? When they're loaded up with like sour cream and have you seen those?
Yeah.
Dude, you know, I saw him at like some I saw him at like some like convenience store, and he was plugging like this guy where he frequents, and it was like this meat, bacon, cheese wrap thing. It actually looked pretty good with jalapeno. I thought, well, at least it's keto, but man, this guy, he's feasting. He was eating pizza at the Loma fight. Like, I mean, I understand Mayweather didn't really have that great of a diet, but he was just a smaller guy. Like, I feel like Haney is big, although he's young. Like, dude, the guy's huge, you know, at least for 135.
I think he'd be able to do that once he gets to like 147, like Mayweather, you know what I mean? Stop at El Pollo Loco or I guess a sponsorship from Burger King, some chicken fries. I don't know. But yeah, it's crazy. And then Run mentioned like the Tank fight against Loma. I think and you know what I'm saying? Like I'm picking Haney to beat Loma. I'm not saying like to be like a blowout or Loma is not having any kind of chance, but like Loma is game in any fight. Like I believe when we say the top guys at 135, you can easily put Loma in there, and maybe that's what it takes is for an opponent like Haney to like bring out like that one very good last fight that Loma has in his career, and it could be that way. And same thing with Haney. Maybe he needs a Loma to really show exactly, you know, the level of where he's at. But as far as you know, naming like the Haney and Shakur and Davis, I do believe that I think he would beat Davis. I mean, I just think, I don't know. Those are all great fights. I mean, I hope we at least get all three or at least two of the three. But I know for sure the one I'm really hoping right now, and I'm sure you guys are licking your chops, is on the Haney and Loma.
Oh, yeah. I don't have a dog in the race. Lil Penny here says that Haney may be a little bigger than Mayweather, but not much. Yeah, so Haney's officially listed at 5'9", while Mayweather's listed at 5'8". So, yeah, I do think that he's slightly taller. You know, although who knows? He might have been growing still. Like, I think I forget how old, you know, Ron, do you know like how long a person typically grows for until they stop growing? Is there a range?
Well, you hear it. I mean, it all depends on the individual because you hear people growing like up until they're like 25 years old. So it all depends. But what about who knows what the theory of that we were going on last week about or a few weeks ago about people cutting weight and how that's affecting their growth. So who knows? But I think Haney, I mean, I honestly don't believe Floyd Mayweather is 5'8". Like I don't believe that. And I think Haney's probably a truer like 5'9" or whatever he is. Just look at them. Like even if you look at like pictures when they sparred, and that was like a few years ago, Haney looks like bigger than them back then. So granted, and that was Floyd when he was like probably getting ready for the McGregor fight or I don't know, or was it?
Yeah, I'm not
Jake
sure.
Paul?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the time frame.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just want to see. I mean, out of the two fights, I'd rather see the Shakur versus Loma fight. I think that'd be good, or Shakur versus Haney. I mean, I'm not trying to. I just think Shakur versus these guys. I'd like to see a smaller guy come up and just see if what the skills look like at 135. Honestly.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Anybody got any final thoughts on this one before you wrap it up?
Yeah, I just
Uh,
wanted to say that like me, I'm always saying how it's kind of like a cruising division with these guys, and it would be very ironic if Haney lost to Loma, just in the fashion that what's his name, Delfimo, lost to Cambosis. We know that they were killing themselves to make that weight, and just for sticking around in that division too long, they're just gonna get a loss. And maybe that's like a sign that these guys are cutting too much weight. But we got to see.
Well, I full credit to either fighter, I guess, right? I mean, Lomachenko's still supposed to be Lomachenko, and if Haney can make the weight, we'll see what happens. I'm excited for that fight. And there's another fight that I'm super freaking excited about. Breaking news today, probably within the last hour, man. And we just moved it right to the front, man. We want to talk about this. So, according to Mike Coppinger, who is getting a lot of good information, like inside information from PBC, like he's been right on the money lately, right before the news comes out. He came out and said that Benavidez and Plant have signed contracts for a super middleweight fight in 2023. And as you all know, it looks like the Benavidez versus Uzcategui fight got scrapped. So we're going to go right to this one. It looks like that's what Plant's saying. He's saying that he went and made it happen. He signed his part, and he's going to see us all next year. Hashtag revenge tour. I did not expect this fight. Man, I am excited about this one. George, what do you think, brother?
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, man, come on. This is what we wanted. I hope they're not just saucing us up, trying to get us excited, have us talking. Because I mean, just look at the news and everything that's been happening on with PBC. With, of course, I'm sure we're gonna get into it right now, the Terrence Crawford stuff. I find it kind of ironic. Like I was telling Julian, I'm like, I kind of find it a little ironic with Terrence Crawford making the video, putting Al Heyman and PBC on blast, and the next day we get this. So I mean, it could be a coincidence. I could just be talking shit, but I find it kind of ironic, especially because nobody was calling for the Caleb Plant and Uzcategui. I wasn't. You guys weren't. There was a lot of shit talking about it. We kind of went on last episode about the stuff. It's a good fight, man. It's a great fight. It's these guys are pretty much evenly matched. As far as who I think will win, I mean, I see Drew picking Plant, easy decision. He might be talking shit, but I mean, why not? I mean, yeah, look what he did in the Durrell fight. But I mean, he fought Durrell a little bit older. You got Benavidez for me, high volume puncher. His defense I think is still a little untested. I just don't think Caleb Plant hits hard enough to hurt Benavidez or to make Benavidez respect his power. So I think, I'm going with Benavidez on this one. I'm picking Benavidez on this one.
Hey man, hard to go with that. Hard to go wrong with that kind of pick. I'll tell you. Run. Can you believe this fight's made? I can't believe it. What do you think about this one, bro?
I won't believe it till I see it. It's too good. I mean, this is what other boxers should do. I mean, they need to take notes. Is that this is a little late for it, but if you want to get a big fight, you need to fight a big fight to get a big fight. And like 168 is pretty barren with actually top guys, so it only made sense for this to happen. But I guess I'm just too cynical to believe this is going to happen until they're both in the ring, walking to the ring, and then they ring the first bell. But I mean, I'm happy it's happening. I didn't know until we were previewing the show that this was actually a thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. As for, I'm probably going with Benavidez as well. I think it's just like Plant might have this skill, Plant might have all these things, but at a certain point, sometimes I think Benavidez is just going to overwhelm him, and I wouldn't be surprised if someone's waving the white flag at the end of the day in the Plant corner. You'll see.
Damn.
Breadman's not going to help him. Didn't help Julian Williams. Not going to help Caleb Plant either.
Shit.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I just think that's what it's going to be. David Benavidez. It's going to be the red flag, just like they call him. So I think that's what's going to happen.
red flag. No, Paul, do you think Plant has a chance at all, man? I feel like everybody's talking it's going to be just a foregone conclusion here, even though this is a damn good fight.
Man. I think he does. This is why. I'm not going to pick him to win, but I'm going to say why. a lot of these fighters, they have momentum, bro. And right now he's got a lot of momentum. Even though you could sit there and just say, hey, well, Durrell was done anyways. I mean, that is a good knockout for him to have. So even if he can't beat Benavidez, mentally he looks super prepared. And he's got some momentum. So he's and on top of that, I think his new coach, Breadman's giving him a lot of confidence. Maybe Breadman says, hey, take the fight, we can exploit a lot of things in Benavidez. You know what I'm saying? And I could see that. And if the major part is going in there with confidence. And I think he has that right now. So I do believe that he has a chance. And I'm giving him a heavy chance. You know what I mean? I'm going to say that I favor Benavidez maybe 60-40, 55-45 thing. You know what I mean? I'm not going to explain why, but I do favor Benavidez. But like I said, he still got a big chance, to upset him. But, I don't think he can win by knockout. I think it would be like a decision, like a close decision. And, I did want to speak on that. It is funny, what George said, how, when you put the pressure on like the promotional company and then all of a sudden you see them giving us a fight that we've been, asking for forever. That kind of happened, I think, too, with Terrence Crawford, when he kind of put into question Bob Arum, right away we get the Shakur versus Valdez fight, that situation. I mean, it happens all the time, so it does make you think,
Hey, it does, and we're going to give ourselves credit for this one because I don't think anybody liked the Uzcategui fight. Man, I'm pumped for this fight. I favor Benavidez in this fight as well. I think that he should win this fight, but I think this is a high level for both of them. Although Plant has been to the top, right? He faced a unified champion in Canelo Alvarez. He lost that fight, obviously, but I think he made a good account of himself. I think that he learned. I love that he's still hungry, right? Billy Joe Saunders, he just took his bag and went home. And Callum Smith, he's doing good stuff at the higher weight class, right? At 175. So I appreciate that, but it's nice to see somebody who Canelo beat still kind of try to make waves in that same division. I think Caleb Plant's still hungry, and I think that Benavidez still has the same holes that I've always seen, and he's never really truly been tested. I don't think he could chase people around all that well. If you go straight back, he can get you, but if you start moving backwards and laterally, like if Plant can move around like he moved around versus Canelo, he might have a shot of somehow outpointing Benavidez, but Benavidez has such a great activity rate. He's not going to get phased by Caleb Plant unless somehow, like the wire says, that Caleb Plant does have this nuclear left hook, which I've never really truly, I've never bought into that myself, to be honest. But man, the concept of this fight being made and the fact that Plant said, yes, give me Benavidez, like, I think that's interesting. And also, is Benavidez going to be able to make this weight comfortably? Like, I think that he might be, weakening himself with every fight that he stays there. But I expect Benavidez to win. And I think that whoever wins this fight should be the natural next guy for Canelo to fight if he decides to fight at 168. If he wants to fight Bivol, which I personally think would not be a great idea, but say he wanted to do that, well, that's his business. Canelo could do whatever he wants, right? But if he stays at 168, man, this is the fight to make right here. And I am so pumped to see these two get it on. And this would be like the natural next guy for Canelo to see no matter what.
Yeah.
On top of that, too, Nopal, I think you're right, brother. Like, I'm sorry, George. Did you have something to say?
No. I was just agreeing. That's all. Sorry.
Yeah, dude. No. And the other thing, too, is like, you guys are right, man. I think this type of pressure, like, I think that for a while, I thought the PBC was just like this big wall, right? And Al Heyman didn't care what people had to say. But you know what? They've been taking a lot of heat from all angles. I think people are just getting tired of these fights not getting made in-house or with other promotional companies, and it's starting to get to everybody. And they're not looking very popular. Like, sure, they have their cult, but they're always going to have the cult, and I think maybe there's some kind of pressure for them to make good fights. And it might be like that with their networks too. Like, if anybody at the top is any kind of decent boxing fan and has a love for the sport and wants to see the sport do well, like, you figure that they would also be like, hey man, like, why don't you start making the fights that everybody wants to see? Like, we can't just keep dragging this out. This is probably the best in-house PBC fight that I think, we discussed this earlier. Like, it's the best fight that I've ever seen. I can't wait to go. Like, I hope I would consider actually going to this fight if it's somewhere convenient. Like, if I happen to be in Arizona at the time, and there's a chance I might be, George, I got to talk to you about that later, or, like somehow I'm in Vegas, or I would love to see this fight. Like, if I was living near Carson, this fight was in Carson, my ass would be going to this one, and I'd be looking forward to it.
Man, those are all good places and good locations. for that fight. Yeah, and the thing too, I read also that PBC's contract is going to end soon. I think with Fox, it ends at the end of this year, and then Showtime, it's at the end of next year. I don't know how true that is, but I read it somewhere. So yes, they need to do something right. And then another thing I saw and heard that, I mean, let's think about it. When was the last time they actually signed a young fighter like top rank? Like when was the last time PBC has done that? So I don't know what we don't know what's going on. I mean, there's something there. There's something definitely there that's going on, and I think Heyman feels the pressure. He feels the pressure on it. He definitely has to make this fight. We don't know why they're not making any of these damn fights. I mean, we're getting fucking Wilder and Hellenius, whatever. I know it's a comeback fight, but you're making that shit pay-per-view. Come on. This is what we want.
Pressure's on him.
The pressure's on him. This is what we want.
Hell yeah. And JC says that even though he's not a big fan of Plant, he earned a lot of that from that Nello fight. I agree, man. Although, I'll be honest, I didn't watch too much of the Durrell fight. I just watched the highlights. Like, I don't even really know what Caleb Plant looked like. I saw the highlight KO. I mean, how did Plant look to you guys?
Against Canelo?
Pretty good, man.
Against Durrell.
Oh, Durrell. Yeah, I saw the same thing. You could see there was a little bit. There was he stood in the pocket a little bit more. He still used his footwork that he has. I mean, that ability is always going to be there. And that left hook just came out of nowhere, man. That shit was nice.
Dude, it was nice, dude. Could be KO of the year, that's for sure. And Nando here says that he also favors Benavidez. Plant wins the early rounds, but Benavidez eventually walks down Plant for a late stoppage. I mean, it'd be hard to argue with that. Can he take the mental pressure? I mean, I felt like he was able to take the pressure from Canelo until he just got stopped, right? It's not like, I don't think he mentally folded. I think he just got put down. You know what I mean?
Yep,
and the Shoe Shine is here. I want to give a shout out to Dave from the 408 to Shoe Shine on Monday nights, man. Y'all got to be checking out that show. They had a fire show on Monday. And Nando here agrees with, JC agrees with Nando. The PBC likes to sacrifice jabronis. Well, maybe they're serving up Plant, or, who knows, dude. But like I said, I've kind of liked Plant's swagger, even though he kind of looks like a fool when he's on the losing end. He's talking all that shit, and he gets two-pieced by Canelo at the press conference. But I still like that he talks shit. So I cannot wait for the shit talking. These two have beef. They've been talking shit for years. They had a gym scuffle, right? I don't think it was like between them personally, but I think Plant and Benavidez' brother, but it was like a gym scuffle there. There's all kinds of history between these two. So I cannot wait to hear what they have to say as far as the press conference goes. I'll tell you what, man, we got another.
One last thing. No, Caleb Plant, obviously a great boxer. He did look better than in his last fight. Like, he did look like he diversified the offense attack, and the left hook looked improved, because the left hook we used to see was like sort of that like crooked, like he had a crook in his elbow, and it was sort of like not a slap, but it was sort of weird, like a T-Rex left hook. But it seems like he's turning over a little better now. But man, great fight, but it's gonna be sad when Plant gets stopped by the second Benavidez. First stopped in the gym by the one-legged Benavidez, now stopped by David, the younger brother. So no, I'm just kidding. It's gonna be a good fight. I favor David by stoppage.
Dude, he came out looking like a punk in that gym scuffle, just like he looked like a punk against Canelo at the press conference. But he still walks away talking all kinds of shit, man. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. One thing I find interesting though is that, like, Caleb Plant's all about the loyalty and everything, but he leaves his trainer he's been with since like the amateurs or whatever for a new trainer all of a sudden. So it's just it's more of a mental thing, like No Paul said. I think it's more of like he just needs the mental, and it's like sometimes I think, because they seem like really close, sometimes you don't want to be trained by your friend. You need that separation. So that might be what it is, but it would at least, like, I don't know the finances, but it's like that's sort of unfortunate. If it's like, I hope it wasn't one of those things where he didn't pay his trainer and then they just split after the biggest payday.
Yeah. You know what? His trainer didn't even. I mean, he wasn't even playing the part, though. Well, I don't know if that matters, but the dude looked like a.
No, Paul, you might have cut out, bro. You're starting to talk shit about Caleb Plant's trainer. You said he looked like something.
Yeah. What I got the vibe with, it was more of like when, remember Chris Algieri's trainer, the kickboxing trainer?
Oh,
like
the cage guy?
Cobra?
Tim Lane, he's like, I'm going to let him out of the cage. It seemed like he was, like, that guy was like acting as a boxing trainer. And it's like, I don't know. I've never been in a ring. I don't know anything about boxing, but from fans' perspective, it seemed like Plant's previous trainer was sort of acting as a trainer. Like when you watch their training sessions where it's like, Breadman is obviously an accomplished trainer. I might have just like was talking crap earlier, but obviously he's accomplished. He's had great fighters. He's come up in the Philadelphia boxing scene, so obviously he's a good trainer. But the other guy was sort of like reminding me of Tim Lane, like sort of like posing as a trainer.
Dude, I like trainer loyalty too. You know, I like it when a fighter takes a big loss and then still stays with their trainer, and then if they take another loss, then moves on. Like I can kind of see that, you know. But when you take that first huge big loss, I mean that's a personal decision. And like you said, sometimes it happens after you take that big loss and you've made that big check, right? Just like Kambosos lost against Haney, although there's a lawsuit there, and that's pretty fucked up. That does suck, right?
There's a lawsuit with that.
Oh yeah, dude. Kambosos is previous trainer as well as his manager. They're both suing him.
That's Xander's trainer, right?
Yep.
Xander Zayas? Yeah.
Yeah, they both said that they didn't get paid for the first Haney fight like they should have.
Dude, boxing's so weird with that type of stuff. Like how come the trainer gets like obviously the check goes to the fighters, but should be something where like a certain percentage is held by the commission that goes directly to the trainer and like the staff, you know? Like the 10% or 8% or whatever it is.
Yeah, dude, and I could see how a lot of these fighter trainer relationships that come up from like the ground up, you know, like I could see where it's kind of a handshake deal after a while. So it's like, say you're with each other from the beginning, you're always getting that 10%. I mean, it'd be weird for a trainer to all of a sudden come be like, oh, you know, I think we got to put that in writing. Like that'd be an awkward conversation to have, right? So I could see it being like a verbal agreement, just kind of like an unsaid thing. And then the fighter could be like, well, I don't owe you anything, or, you know, I'm cutting you loose, I'm moving on. And but that kind of loyalty is hard to find in boxing.
Even with like some of the like biggest relationships in boxing, like most iconic in recent years, like Juan Manuel Marquez and Nacho, is that he wasn't giving Nacho he was giving Nacho like the standard whatever 10%, 13%, whatever the max is allowed. But then they readjusted once Marquez started making big money, which is sort of like that guy like basically raised you. Like he trained them since they were like in boxing, you know, just sort of an odd thing. And then it's like obviously everyone knows like Triple G and Abel Sanchez, and it's like he was with you like when you became Triple G, you know, he trained you like even before you came, right? So it's just weird stuff. But I get it at the same time. It's like if you're making the money, it's like didn't that happen with Hopkins and no, it wasn't. It was someone with Nazim. I don't know if it was Shea Mosley, but it was something weird. Like some of the guys you wouldn't expect it from.
Yeah, it just shows it's a business, right? I mean,
totally.
Yeah.
Because like
you know what though. Oh, go ahead, Ron.
No, I was gonna say like if you're getting like 10% of $1 million, but then it turns to 10% of 10 million, that's a big difference for the boxer when they look at the end of the day.
I mean, it's true. And you know what? Ultimately, like, you know, some trainers just don't know everything. Like I could see it being a thing. It's like, well, you know, this guy's sticking around out of loyalty, but you know, you guys are just going through the motions. Like how much more do you have to learn from a guy after a while, right? So I could see maybe wanting a different look. And there are better trainers than others, or trainers that can show you other things, different styles. Like, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people from Europe who come and find an American trainer for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Happens like that all the time.
Yeah, and you know, like even with Triple G situation, I mean, maybe Triple G realized that he needed to adopt like a safer style. I mean, how would that conversation have gone with him and Abel if he's like, Abel, you know, I can't continue fighting this way. Can you teach me to be more defensive? Shit like that. But there, on the other hand, you do have all the shit that Abel used to do for Triple G. I mean, he talked hella shit on his behalf. I mean, he went above and beyond as his trainer, you know. But, you know, so you got to consider both things. I mean, you still got the loyalty aspect, but just like you said, Chicano, you know, how much more can you learn from these type of trainers sometimes, you know? You need to learn something extra or take a different approach in boxing or learn a different strategy. Like, you just have to keep it real. But, you know, even though I'm saying that, I don't agree with the way Oscar De La Hoya just kept switching trainers. You know, that was excessive. But in other cases, I think it's okay, you know?
Yeah, it would be interesting to see some of these fighter and trainer contracts to see what like the stipulations are in there. You know what I mean? Like if I win this many fights, you know, do they get incentives? I mean, right? I think it'd be interesting to see maybe one day a trainer's like, here, this is what I did for so and so. These are the stipulations.
Yeah, and you know, another thing I've considered about trainers is, you know, we got resumes up for fighters. You know, if you want to check their resume, what fights they had, how the turnout and all that. Maybe they should get a database with all the the resume of a trainer, because that also makes, because we see the situations where trainers are just in it for the money. So they're like, hey, can you train me to fight Godzilla? The trainer's like, oh yeah, depending on how much you're going to pay me. But, if a trainer was more interested in his own resume, results and stuff like that, he'd think about it. He'd be like, well, I'm going to make myself look bad because you got no chance versus this guy. Hey, bro, you got to find somebody else. This is one thing that I thought about a lot.
Damn, that's very true.
Yeah.
Dude, whenever there's like a fighter trainer breakup, it's always the trainer that leaves butthurt. You know what I mean? It's just the way it goes.
Bradley, Tim Bradley.
Oh, that's
That
right.
was
That's
probably
right.
the worst, but
that was bad. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, and then Run, I know you and I both have a soft spot for Oscar De La Hoya's first trainer.
Alcazar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least we both like the way he looked. Everybody's trying to act like, peak De La Hoya was with Floyd Sr., but I think he looked real sharp at 147 personally.
No, for sure. Maybe his most iconic wins were with Floyd Sr., but man, Alcazar had to move, like letting his hands go like crazy back then.
Crisp,
and,
man.
And then he was doing well for Munguia too, but some people think otherwise, which I get because it's like he's not getting hit as much. But I like Munguia too. It might not have been like the most sustainable style, but when he let his hands go with Alcazar, that was impressive stuff.
All right. And I want to give a shout out to Chancey Burrows is in the house, and he was talking about the line for the pending Benavidez versus Plant fight. And, well, we think it's a sweep for Benavidez winning. So I would imagine if you were to ask me, like, I would say probably like a 4-1 favorite. I think Benavidez is going to come in at like 4-1, 5-1. And then anything more than that, I think there's some value there with Plant. But, oh, yeah, I think that Benavidez is going to be a heavy favorite, at least 4 or 5-1. That's my opinion anyways. And Lil Penny has something to say about Alcazar as well, that would always follow Oscar De La Hoya in the ring during his intro. Just leave him alone, bro. I'd have to go back and watch that, man. I mean, little things, I pick up on little things and they annoy me too, but I never really noticed that. I'll have to go back and look. Like, I mean, is he trying to get attention like Stitch Duran is trying to get attention? Or like, how subtle is this? We got to go back and take a look, do some film investigating. But, dude, I want to move on to Bivol versus Ramirez this weekend, man. This is a good fight right here in Abu Dhabi for Bivol's 175-pound title. It's on, dude. George, who do you got in this fight, man? Break it down for us.
Damn, I wish you would go to me last on this one.
All right, let's go to Run.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I'll go. Because, I mean, shit, even like right now, as earlier when we were talking, you gave us the line off for what we're doing. Like, probably even tomorrow, I mean, even Saturday, as they're touching gloves to separate the fight. Like, I'm still not quite sure because I mean, both guys I feel like are skilled, even though Ramirez has 44 fights. I think level of competition, I don't know, it could be like almost like the same thing like Munguia. He's beating these guys, he's flashy. I thought what I can remember, like Jesse Hart was probably like one of his big wins. The skill's definitely there. But this is a tough one for me. I mean, Bivol has always proven to be really good. He's got some good wins. Can't compare Ramirez to Canelo, of course. Yes, there's size difference and styles. I really like this fight. It's a great fight. Like, Ramirez is finally getting that fight that everybody's been asking for him to step up in competition, so that way we can see exactly where he lines up against somebody with the skill of Bivol. I mean, it's tough for me to pick. I think if I am going to pick somebody, and it's not going to be an easy fight, this is going to be super, super close. Ramirez obviously is going to have his moments in this fight, and I think Bivol has really good footwork. I like the way he bounces in and out, and he's able to throw punches and still have some pop on him. But I think I'm just going to have to lean with Bivol on this one, even though I do like Ramirez. I mean, he might be a big 175. I don't know, but this one's tough for me. I'm definitely going to lean with Bivol. And I'm going to say this is going to be a split decision.
Okay, so like could it see it either way kind of thing?
Yeah. Like I said, I would say I believe both guys are going to have good moments. I feel like Ramirez is going to have better moments early on. And Bivol, you know, if you've watched the way he fights, he studies you. Of course, obviously, when you're fighting, you're studying each fighter as you're in there, like you're making adjustments. I think like Bivol will be able to make some of those late adjustments, and also we'll see where what Ramirez brings to the table, right? I mean, the last fight that we seen him in, I think it was Gonzalez. He got hit a lot, and I thought he got I believe he got hit way too much in that fight, and it's probably because he knows that he couldn't get hurt. Maybe he was making it exciting. I don't know, but this is a different style right here. Bivol, you know, he punches really good. He's really clean with his shots. He's good getting in and out and making it his fight. So I'm gonna lean with Bivol on this one. Yes, it is gonna be a close fight.
Nice, thank you, George. I want to give a warm welcome to our homie. Man, I should have worn a beanie, man. I would have been matching with you guys. Lil Penny is in the house. What's happening, Lil Penny?
It's cold here, man. You gotta excuse me, bro.
Dude, George is in the desert and he's over here wearing a beanie.
Hey, man, today it is cold today.
Like
our high right now is, no, come on now. It was actually like in the low 50s, almost like 49 right now.
That's fair. That's fair. Lil Penny, we were just talking about Bivol versus Ramirez, man. Hang tight. I just want to run to the other homies real quick. And we got Philly Irish, but we're going to make this fast, dude, because you know what? I want to hear everybody's opinion. Run, who do you got in this fight, brother?
I have Bivol. I think it's going to be – I think it might be a little wider than George had it, but I have Bivol winning. I think it's going to be a unanimous decision. But one thing I'm interested with the fight is that we're going to see how much power Oscar De La Hoya has if it is wide, how much power he still has to influence the scorecards. No, for real, we're going to see what he has because if it's like I think it's going to be like an 8-4 Bivol. It's going to be competitive at times, but I think it's going to be a clear 8-4. But I'm just going to see if we see like something crazy, like if it's like a clear 8-4 or a clear 9-3 Bivol. If you get like a 7-5 or 8-4 the other way, you're going to see Oscar still have some power.
Damn, how much juice does Oscar De La Hoya still have? That's a good question, man. Nopal, do you think that's going to be a factor, man? And who do you have winning this fight? I just want to point out to everybody that Dimitri Bivol is a decent favorite, about a 3-1 favorite. So if you like Ramirez, you get some decent odds if you're interested in that kind of thing. Nopal, what do you think about this fight, man?
I think that's funny, man. How much juice does Oscar have left, huh? Can he get one last more in?
Hey, man, I think those are really old established relationships. You know what I mean?
True. They say that when he takes everybody out to dinner, that's when the deals get made, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it like George, exactly. I think that, you know, I look at Bivol like somebody, dude, train like a robot to not take very many chances and not expose himself. He's going to play it safe and pull a decision, in my opinion. But, you know, it's interesting because, we'll see if, Ramirez can get to him, with some of them angles that he has. Kind of reminds me of Pernell Whitaker a little bit. He has these awkward angles he gets, and we'll see. But, I mean, I look at Bivol like he's too quick. He's not going to take any chances, and he'll pull out the decision. That's what I think. But, I'm rooting for Zurdo Ramirez. I'm hoping that he can, pull out a victory somehow. And I hope I'm wrong on this one,
I hear you, man. There's a lot of factors in this fight. A lot of people are saying, well, hey, Zurdo is much bigger. He's stronger than Canelo, and he's there to fight, and he's formidable. It's different dynamics. And I do agree, of course, it is different dynamics. Lil Penny, what do you think about this fight, man?
Yeah, I agree with Run PMC. I think it will be more of an 8-4 fight for Bivol. But I think that the rounds will be closer, though, because, Zurdo's got the length. But I've never thought Zurdo had the punching power to trouble anyone who's an A class fighter, like guys like Canelo and Bivol. I think it'll be like an 8-4. But I'm like Nopal. I'm actually rooting for Zurdo to win because a Zurdo Canelo fight, like an all Mexican fight, would be huge in Las Vegas, kind of like Fernando Vargas versus Oscar De La Hoya. Whereas a Bivol Canelo rematch, it'll still be big, but I think we haven't had a huge all Mexican fight for a while, right, guys? Like when was the last time we had a huge all Mexican fight? Like maybe Canelo.
Why.
Well, Burchelt versus Valdez, but I mean that was small time. I mean lower weight classes. So I mean it was a hot fight for the hardcores, but I mean it wasn't like a on the radar of like all the casuals or anything.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
like
the
a
last
super
one.
fight, huh? Like a super fight, huh? Penny.
Yeah,
it's been
I
a
think
while.
no, Paul. I think the last one was Canelo Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. because I think that did over 1 million
Yup.
pay-per-view buys, right?
Yeah, it
Yep,
did.
that was it. Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I got Bivol 8-4, same as Run PMC.
Yeah, I see this fight like you guys do. But first, before I give my take, I want to give a shout out to Drew Evo, who's in the house, man. I haven't had so many panelists I've had to manage. I forgot he was here because he's here laying low in the corner. Drew Evo, I saw a shoe shine, man. I know what you got going on. You have it the other way. Welcome, brother. Tell us why.
First of all, shout outs to my pupil, Nopal. Shout outs to my semi-pupil, Chicano Prophet. Shout outs to my boy George, man. He's getting the hang of saying fuck on the show now. Shout out to him. Little Penny, you're disappointing me lately, man. You gotta like, come on, man. You're disappointing me. And there's one PMC. But I really think that this fight's gonna be a knockout for Zotto. And I'm gonna be honest with you because he has to, in order for Bivol to get a decision here, he's going to have to be able to get inside. That means he's going to have to take risk. He's a guy who likes to fight in the middle of the ring. He wants his fights in the middle of the ring. And he's going to have to get away from that. He's going to have to lower the much bigger fighter into the ropes and everything. And I don't think he's going to do that. If this goes a decision, it's going to be for Zotto because he's going to try to play it safe and not try to engage Zotto like that. But I think he's eventually going to take risk in this fight, and he's going to get stopped by Zotto Ramirez in round 9.
Damn.
Drew, you think he's going to get clipped like at the end of the round like he did against Joe Smith?
No, I think it's going to be in the middle of the round. I think Zotto's going to nail. He's going to try to go inside Bivol and take that risk, and he's going to get an uppercut, and that's going to hurt Bivol. And I think the stoppage is going to go around with a couple of combinations. The referee steps in.
Oh, so TKO.
Yeah, it's going to be a stoppage.
Okay.
Hey, well, I mean, I like it the other way. Drew, you gonna put any money on it or what?
No, I'm going to save my money for the Haney Loma fight. I gotta let these Haney sexuals know that the fight a losing battle here and everything, man. Like all they got is the height and the age, and they can't tell me no logical boxing facts of why he's gonna beat. And I'm giving logical boxing facts here. How Haney can lose this fight, man. Like because I'm the strong insider. I wouldn't call myself a journalist, but I'm a strong boxing insider. And I came on here for these guys to give these guys a ratings boost because, hey, what can I say? I'm the best thing since sliced bread on here. What can I say?
Hey,
Drew,
Drew.
you always come in big time, me man. I hate when you do that, brother.
I'm sorry, man. But, it's your ratings boost, man. You can thank me later in the DM.
Just keep it real, Chicano.
I know, man. I have to change my thumbnail and put you right on there, featuring Drew Evo.
Hey, Drew, with Haney, right? I think his confidence is sky high now. I think when you saw Haney without being the undisputed champ, and now that he's undisputed champ, it's a totally different fighter. His confidence is sky high now. He's taking a lot of chances as well. You saw that on the second fight against Kambosos. I think Haney washes Lomachenko. I think he washes.
I'm gonna counter with you on that. Let me tell you something. Kambosos in both fights became Cam Booty, number 1. Number two, Lomachenko fights at a fast pace for 12 rounds. Devin Haney fights at a slow pace fight. He's flat-footed. Loma will give angles, and Haney's not gonna like a fast-paced fight, man. It just goes Loma's pace. Haney's in a lot of trouble, and Haney ain't gonna be able to clinch Lomachenko because he's gonna slip to the side. He's going to get wide open and nail that nice uppercut or that nice little body shot, and it's going to cause problems. Haney's going to have to adjust multiple times in order to have a chance to beat Lomachenko. And I don't think Haney has a backup plan to fight a Lomachenko because he's never fought a pure boxer. Everybody that he's fought in his career has next to terrible footwork. He's never fought a pure boxer. These guys try to stay in front of him the whole time. They don't move side to side and punch while they're doing it. This is going to be a real difficult fight for Devin Haney. And Devin Haney is a two-punch fighter. He goes with the jab and tries with the right hook. That's all he has. And he can't fight inside. Ortiz does a lot of shit better than Devin Haney. He's bigger than Devin Haney. If he didn't have stamina issues, I even give him a good chance to beat Devin Haney Ortiz. And I think you disrespecting my man Ortiz here because I saw him fight a couple of times and I liked what I saw. I even predicted on the Shoe Shine last week that Ortiz is going to give him problems. What happened? Ortiz posed some problems. But you know what happened? Loma, like he always does, figured out the fighter and use that to his advantage. Use his strong points to his and make him his disadvantages.
Hey, Drew, I agree with you that Haney is he's like a two-dimensional fighter. Like he doesn't have a lot of dimensions to his game, but his two dimensions are really good. He's so fundamentally sound. I think it will be like a Tio Loma fight, but I think Haney does better than Tio. Because Loma's old now, man. Like you could tell, he's old. He doesn't. When you say he fights so fast for 12 rounds, he can't do it for 12 rounds anymore. He may do it for about 6 rounds, but not for 12. He's probably where like Pacquiao was when Pacquiao fought Jeff Horn. He's on the downside of his career now.
I don't know quite about that one, Little Penny, but go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. They doubt him. They said Nakatani was going to destroy Lomachenko. What happened? He dominated and stopped him. Teofimo couldn't stop him. Loma stopped him.
Yeah, but that was the haters saying that, bro.
So what happens when people were saying that Comey's was going to destroy Lomachenko? He made it look easy. He's like this. You go back to your corner, man. You go back to your corner. You go back to your corner. I'll see you next round. He could have.
I thought that was. I hate when he does that shit. To me, it's like, dude, get over yourself, man.
Hey,
it's kind of annoying.
Yo,
yeah,
the
most impressive
though. Most impressive though for Loma.
But
my opinion.
A lot of people always doubt Lomachenko. This is a time that people are gonna doubt Lomachenko. I have a feeling people are gonna doubt this guy. He's gonna go in there and you're gonna see shades of the old Lomachenko. And Devin Haney is going to have a lot of issues at a pace because he's a flat-footed fighter that Loma can really take advantage of. He's never left a flat-footed stance in his career. Never.
So Drew, you got Loma in this fight? No, I'm just kidding.
I do got Loma.
Ren, you had something to say, brother?
I got Loma in this fight, possibly by stoppage. I got to do more of my research to see if this is going to be a stoppage, or I might
watch some film up. Watch some film up, bro.
Of course you do, Drew. Ren, you were saying something, brother?
Yeah. I respect Drew sticking by Loma though, for real. But I was gonna say one thing that I think about Loma, like I think he's past his prime, but I think when you have high level fighters, just because they're past their prime doesn't mean they still can't perform at a high level. But I would say most impressive thing I saw Loma do was against Nicholas Walters. That was probably like the most impressive I saw Loma, because I was like, after what he did to Donaire, and after you saw what Donaire could do after that too. I think that's probably one of his best wins right there. Would probably against Axeman.
Absolutely.
Oh,
and one thing I do see with Loma, he does get hit with rights. I mean, you know, he got hit by against Linares. Same thing against Ortiz. And I think that'll be. I mean, everybody's saying the jab for Haney, but I feel like it's going to be the right hands. I think he kind of. If Haney can time it perfect, like Ortiz has, I think he can land a straight right. And once Ortiz landed those straight rights, like you can tell Loma kind of slowed the pace a little bit and kind of respected Ortiz. And I think for me that'd be the difference. I think that would give Haney the upper edges of straight right hands because he's a southpaw. He's open for those. Also,
once you become a champ, not even just champ, you're the lineal undisputed champ. It's the totally different mindset. Kind of like remember when Chicago Bulls, before they beat the Lakers, they were a bit unsure of themselves. After they beat the Lakers in '91, they started rushing guys after that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a different mindset when you're the undisputed champion. You go in there with a different mentality.
Are you comparing the Chicago Bulls to Devin Haney?
No. I'm just saying, like, once you become
damn mind, Little Penny. No wonder why you disappoint me lately.
No, I'm just saying, just once you become an undisputed champ, you have a different mindset to yourself. Like, you know, you start taking more chances as well where you weren't before. I think that's where Haney is. And I think Haney's also getting better. He's like 24 years old, whereas Loma is what, 35? He's
34.
not getting better. 34. He's not getting better. He's actually getting worse.
Question. Who is the best wins on Haney's resume?
Probably Cambosis.
No, Linares is the best winner of his resume.
I don't know.
Cambosis came out to beat Cam Booty.
He had a little
Fluke
trouble
went over
there, though,
Teofimo.
Drew. He had a little trouble there with Linares, didn't he? He almost,
true.
Yeah, he did. That's why
Almost
he's his
got
best
KO'd.
win.
I think he was
You
trying. I think I know what you're talking about. No, Paul. I think it's because he was trying to impress everyone, and he was fighting more on the inside. That's why he got caught.
Yeah, that's exactly where he did that famous clinch, right? Where he just walked straight up to him and clinches him. Like, bro, what the? Who does that? You know, I guess given the situation, he was in trouble, but
Dude was
still
home
didn't
for like
look
a
good.
round and a half.
Okay, so do you think Loma can deal with Haney clinching all the time?
Who's asking me or?
Yeah, you.
He is, because the thing about it is when he goes to grab from on the inside, Loma could just go to the right or to his left, open body shot, make him pay for the clinch. That's
With
the
some of that
thing.
unbelievable footwork.
These other fighters don't have the best footwork that he fought. He was able to go in there and clinch him and everything. Loma's gonna move around.
On top of that, you know what? I thought that Loma was really good at that. Isn't he really good at when they clinch him, how to get
Yeah,
out of him and keep hitting the guy?
Yeah.
Somehow he's known to do some little moves, you know?
And he's a little bit of a cochino too when he fights, just a little bit.
Yeah, that's what Delfimo said, right?
Like I gotta be
think so.
honest, man. Like people, I think if this fight happens, this fight even isn't official yet, and everything. I even like hit like my co-host even says he thinks Haney might try to miss right on purpose.
I heard that theory. Like I think Dave made that. Where did that come from? I didn't hear that.
That
I heard
actually
these
makes
rumors.
sense
What
to me,
rumor?
though,
I'll
because
be honest with you. I
Yeah,
was like,
there is a sense.
he
There
has a point,
always
my
has
boy,
been
though.
like a sense that Haney might be scared of Loma, right?
You know what? I can't say.
I
he's
never
scared of
picked up
Loma.
on that personally. I've always felt like Haney did want the fight.
Yeah, I can't say that he's scared of Loma because now he has to chase legacy. There's not really much more he can do because I don't see him being like great at 140. I don't, because the thing about it is when fighters usually lose their power, he doesn't really have any power.
Maybe he'll grow into it. Maybe he'll grow into it like Plant. You know, you never know.
But here's the problem: the difference between Plant and Haney Plant changed trainers, and the trainer made him fucking step down on his punches to make him have a hard effect.
Look at Tyson Fury. Right?
Yeah,
He didn't have much
that too.
power.
That
You know,
too.
he finally found it with the correct coach, and
Yeah.
also you got to
laying
look
out
at
people at 168.
take into consideration too that Haney's probably killing himself to make weight. So 140, 147 are gonna be better for him. You know.
So Drew, is Loma a hype job in your opinion if he doesn't get this done?
No, because tell you the truth, he beat a couple of pound for pound names on his list. He beat Gary Russell Jr., which was actually a top 5 pound for pound fighter when he fought him, and undefeated, and made easy work of him. Won every round, could have knocked out Gary Russell Jr., and then he stopped another top 5 at the time pound for pound fighter in Wiggindale.
Yes.
Oh man. Okay,
From
are you
122,
guaranteeing this
though.
as a
From
win? Is this like a Drew
122.
Evo guarantee?
This is a Drew Evo guarantee. I'm picking Lomachenko to win this fight, possibly by decision, but I might let a stoppage if Devin Haney chooses to go for a clinch more often than he did with the Cam Booty and everything. Yes, his name's Cam Booty now because he's a piece of shit person for not paying his people.
So wait, I heard yes, it's a guarantee. Is that what I heard? Is it a guarantee or is it not a
No.
guarantee?
It's a guarantee. I have him winning the fight, guaranteed.
Okay, so you're
and
in your
unlike
mind, you're
people-
gonna see Haney or Loma winning. That's what.
Unlike everybody else, the Haney sexuals are gonna make excuses while Loma beats him. With me, if Loma loses, I'm gonna come out like I did with Teofimo when he lost to Teofimo and say, "Hey, he lost it. I had a 7-5 Teofimo."
Bro, you're still swallowing that pill, man. You're having a hard time with that one still, bro.
Not really, because it's funny as shit how it all ended up and everything. His dad's a delusional fuck.
See, man, you got to let it go, bro. You got to let it go. That's what I'm saying, man. I want to give a shout out to Team Boxing. All right, Drew, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap this up and go back to Bivol versus Ramirez? Because I just want to give my final thoughts on that one.
Yes, ladies, I am single, by the way. Go in my DMs on IG and everything. Latinas preference, please.
Drew,
Yes.
Drew.
Philly Irish. He's based in Philadelphia, but he can easily make it to the boardwalk. So if you want to have like a romantic weekend with him at the boardwalk,
Candlelight dinner, huh?
Yeah.
Long walks
dude.
on the beach, writing poetry.
That's right.
We're
Drew.
going to
That's
bring
right.
boxing back to the boardwalk, man. There used to be great fights there in Atlantic City. What happened? What happened
You
there?
know what happened? HBO left.
Yeah. Triple G didn't want to fight there no more, man.
But dude, I just want to give my prediction for this. Like, I agree with everybody, but Drew, man, I think that Bivol should win this in a 8-4, 7-5 type fashion. I think Bivol can step up, and I think he's still hungry. And I like his team. I like his corner, Joel Diaz, and his main trainer. I don't know the guy's name, but I like their dynamics, and I do think Bivol's hungry. On top of that, there's a couple of things about Ramirez that I've never really liked. Like, one, when you are like 40-something and there's barely any names, right? Except for like maybe like a washed up Arthur Abraham or whatever. Like, to me, I don't like that. I don't like when somebody has a shit ton of wins and there's like no names. I don't like that. He's over 30, I think, and he's got nothing to show for it, even though he's a former world champion, right? So, I mean, that's a red flag for me. Also, he comes out, with his hat, and he's got this Mexican flag that he just took out of the package, right? And it's not ironed or anything like that. That shit pisses me off, dude. Like, somebody needs to clean that up. You got a whole damn team around you in your cowboy hat and your celebrations. Like, he doesn't draw that much, in my opinion, and I think there's a reason why. I think Zurdo Ramirez is a bit clunky. You know what I mean? When he fights, like, I think you guys are right about the way he pivots and the way he moves, but like, at first I thought, well, maybe it's because he's at such a high weight class, but then you see Bivol kind of do his thing. And it's like, no, you can be fast and fluid at that weight class. It's just that Ramirez, even though he's really good at pivoting, like, he's just kind of slower at it. And I'll tell you this, Bivol knows how to be ready for an opponent. Like, he was already ready for the Canelo package, even though he'd never seen it before. And I was very impressed with that. He knew what to do, right? And so I think he's got a killer corner, and I think he did pretty good against Joe Smith, in my opinion. Everybody makes it seem like, Bivol was rocked in that fight. I didn't necessarily see that. I know people see that, and I believe that they believe it, but I didn't really see it that way personally. Who will I root for? So I'm hearing Bivol's going to win, but I'm rooting for Ramirez. Like, I'm kind of indifferent, and I generally tend to root for the Mexican. I can only think of 2 times where I've ever rooted for the other guy. Martinez versus Chavez, Spence versus Garcia, and then Nika's beefing with some chick online who's a Latina. And I like Nika, so I'm rooting for her. But besides that, I can't really think of a time where I was like actively rooting against the Mexican. So when the bell rings, I'll probably end up rooting for Ramirez. I know that because I was rooting for Cotto before the Margarito fight, but the bell rang, and then all of a sudden it just happened, man. And all of a sudden I was rooting for Margarito. Yeah, it just happened. The switch happened.
Dang. The Chicano was about to go get that avatar back up for a minute.
No, man. No. You know what? Like I said, I know what's going to happen, man. It's, I'm going to root for Ramirez. That's what's going to happen. It's just going to happen. But either way, like, I'll kind of be happy. Like, it's one of those where, the 2 fighters are in there and it's like, well, you really don't care too much for either one of them. So, whoever takes the loss, you're going to be happy about it. Kind of like, Lil Penny. I remember back, I don't know if you were watching back in the day, but people who were not really involved with the Pacquiao versus Mayweather fight, like, they're like, man, one of these fan bases is going to fall. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that was intense at the time, so, and it's kind of like that with me and Spence versus Crawford, right? I'm really indifferent, but it's nice to see these people go at it, and somebody's going to take that L. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey guys, did you think that Margarito had, was cheating against Cotto? I don't think so, actually. I think it was just that once-off against Mosley.
Yeah. I don't think that he was. I don't. You know what? To be honest, I've heard them state the facts and all that, so I'm kind of convinced that he wasn't even cheating versus Mosley. I think it was just old hand wraps. But at the same time, I'm open to. I could be totally wrong, but
Margarito always had power. Remember when he nearly knocked down Pacquiao? He nearly stopped him. No one remembers that.
Body shot.
That was a body shot.
Body shot.
Yeah.
But
He had some
Pacquiao
dude's
was so
ear.
small, and I don't know.
Yeah,
Margarito was, what was he, 152, something like that?
He
He looked more like a
Yeah.
middleweight, though, huh?
Margarito was big.
Margarito always had a little bit of power, right? It's not like even when he fought Paul Williams and those guys. I don't think I think that time where he got caught. I don't know. Maybe it was just a once-off. I don't know. Like, because the thing is, those guys, the Kodo team, they did go to his locker room and saw him hand wrap. So it's not like,
Yeah.
he was in closed doors or anything. I think.
Well, and his
sometimes-
gloves were off in the ring. Like, my answer is like, I think it's a little inconclusive.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to know personally. Like, I don't have a strong opinion either way on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
also
think it was-
Margarito, his mindset against Mosley, because he got caught, it was no longer in his, like,
Yeah.
he probably lost his game plan. You know what I
He
mean?
lost his edge, right?
Correct.
Mental
His
edge,
mind
right?
was somewhere else. So if they had that fight over again, I think Margarito will beat Mosley, because Mosley was old back then, man. He was washed up already.
It's hard to say though, because they say, that Mosley was so used to that type of style. You know what I mean? So, but
And
who
he
knows?
was technically undefeated at Staples Center at the time. I remember hearing that theory too, that he was undefeated at the Staples Center. I'm like, I guess
Yeah,
Yeah.
De La Hoya beat him the
Spin it that way.
rematch, man. That was clear, dude.
the rematch. Oh, don't get me started on
Yeah.
that one. We're about to have this be like, okay, all right. Hey, what I want to move on to is Spence versus Crawford. I want to talk about the spat that happened. So we went from like real boxing talk to the cheese man, and we got to talk about it, man, because there's groups that are coming out taking sides, right? And then I feel like yesterday we kind of got the whole like, hey, look at you guys taking sides. So people started getting preachy on the people that were talking about it. Now we could get preachy on the people that are getting preachy, but I want to talk about the cheeseman, man. So we all know that Terrence Crawford came out on IG, was talking some shit, saying, hey, man, I went over there, I tried to make the fight happen, and they slow played me, so I moved on, right? And then the next day, yesterday, we got all kinds of tweets back and forth, right? Spence versus Crawford on Twitter. George, did you have a chance to read all this shit, man?
I'm reading it right now.
Okay, well, you stayed out
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, they
Okay,
definitely were going back and forth. Yeah, they're definitely going back and forth. I mean, it's hard for me to even like really pick sides. I mean, for me, it's entertaining to see these two guys going at it, going back and forth on Twitter. I mean, both make a good point in certain things, but I mean, just look at the PBC thing. I mean, you kind of lean towards, what Bud is saying, because we see with the whole PBC thing, you got Al Heyman, not making these fights. He's a promoter. Yeah, Crawford is kind of like a free agent, but he's kind of got the BLK prime behind him. I seen like, well, where's those 25 million coming from each guy? I mean, if Crawford is making up that lie, that's a pretty fucking like hard lie to make. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna make that kind of a statement, like, you gotta obviously have some kind of fact to really back yourself up and your story. So I'm enjoying it. Them going back and forth. Just make the damn fight. I mean, I'm already tired of this shit. I mean, I've been tired of it already. Just make it, please.
You know what?
Damn,
I'm tired of
George.
it too, but damn it, I wanted to talk about it because, like I said, we've hardly talked about it when you compare all the other channels. Like, we're still in the green, man. So we can bring this up a few more times if we want, as far as I'm concerned. Run, is this your first time seeing all this stuff? And do you have a thought? You could choose to, be above it if you want to be, but if you want to get down into it, man, talk about what you think. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing it. I mean, I think the main thing we have to look at is that none of us are. I'm just reading still. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Well, you know what? I'll let you read
Yeah.
this last slide. Drew Evo, I know you got some strong opinions on this one, man. Go for it.
Man, Joe's is about to freaking be an emotional wreck over here over this shit. And he's about to cry on fucking YouTube. What the
Who
fuck?
is?
George, man. Looks like he's getting ready to fucking cry or something.
Nah, he's a
on
cool
this
cat,
shit.
man.
I'm gonna say this right now, man. I put a tweet out yesterday saying, yo, Terrence Crawford versus All Spence happening right now on Twitter, guys. This is the closest thing you're ever gonna get to it. Seriously. This is, unfortunately. But here's the thing, man. This completely exposed Earl Spence and Al Heyman. I put a tweet out. Earl Spence has officially ducked Terrence Crawford. I'm not questioning Earl Spence's manhood and everything. Because here's the thing. He's ducking Crawford. And he's damn sure not going to. He's going to fight Keith Thurman. That's what he's going to fight. He's going to fight Keith last time Thurman and everything. And unfortunately, when Boots' people, because they officially did go and ask the IBF to mandate Errol Spence to fight him because he is the mandatory for Errol Spence. Once that fight is demanded, Errol Spence will vacate and he will officially duck Boots' sentence.
Oh
So,
man.
here's the thing,
Yeah.
man. Errol Spence and the Errol sexuals, because I hear somebody said, and I'm looking at Treats earlier, man, and he was like, and he was trying to blame Terrence Crawford, and then he was like this, well, Errol is easy to make fights with, yeah, with other PBC fighters, not with nobody outside the PBC. Like, how long have we been talking about this fight for? A couple years, at least 3 years, at least, right? So,
4 years.
yeah, 4
Drew,
years. Thank
But
you.
Drew, how's that exposing Al Heyman, bro?
Because here's the
This
thing.
guy, Terrence Crawford's just showing us what we already
Al
know.
Heyman is out there now. It's all out there now. Because right now, 2 of the biggest fights that could happen this year is not going to happen because of Al Heyman.
I mean, how many more times have they already done this, bro? They did it with Wilder and Joshua. They did it with a bunch of other fights, bro. So you're not exposing nothing, bro. It's been exposed.
Well, here's
And
the fucked up thing.
This is the problem, though, Drew. You're dealing with a guy that will only make a fight a certain way if you put all the chips in his court all the time. He does that shit. He's done that shit to Oscar De La Hoya. He's done that shit to every other promotional company. Knowing that you're choosing to do business with a guy like that, I don't think that you get to go over there and tell him the way that you want it. You know, if you want the fight, you just got to do it how he says, basically. And yeah, try to work out a little bit, but be reasonable at the same time. And I think that the worst thing is, you know, this is very hard to make now. Now that Crawford exposed that there's a company willing to give him $25 million up front and give the other guy $25 million up front, there's no way that Al Heyman's going to get anywhere close to that. So, you know, this fight has just become harder to make if that's true that somebody's willing to put that type of money, because there's no way that Al Heyman's going to try to pay these guys $25 million, bro. There's just no way. So this fight ain't looking too good, man.
It's like this. This is one of the main reasons why, and you guys can call cap if you want, the PBC's going broke. They gotta be going broke because you have too many fucking contracts on the PBC, and the best way to try to make your money back off these contracts is to put these fighters on pay-per-view. And when the pay-per-view flops, you're losing more money with those pay-per-view numbers and everything because you put together lackluster cards. The cards are horrible, horrendous. God damn, Top Rank does fucking better than does at least 1 million views a fucking event because they got the better fights on their cards and everything. And they're not even pay-per-view. Even some of them should be pay-per-view if you look at it. But here's another thing. Tank claims to not be signed with Floyd anymore. But yet again, Al Heyman still stops that fight from happening. So Tank is fucking capping as usual.
Yeah, we know that, huh?
And I'd like to tell you the truth, man. The PBC fighters were relevant when they were with Oscar De La Hoya, when Richard Schaefer had them on Golden Boy and everything, and when Richard Schaefer fucked Oscar over and brought them all to the PBC and everything, which was a bad decision, business decision for him, because not only he cut ties with Heyman, he got sued for $8 million from Oscar.
Yeah,
damn. All right. So, Run, you've seen the tweets. You've heard Drew's pearls of wisdom. Do you have any opinion on this, man?
No, it's just unfortunate the fight's not happening. I mean, all this stuff is hearsay, all this stuff that they're saying. So all we know now is that Crawford has a deal with the app, or if it's a network or an app, and then Errol Spence doesn't have a fight. So we'll see how everything goes. Probably the fight's not going to happen, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, to an extent, unless they have a lack of the depth of a roster, every promoter is doing in-house fights. And that just is what it is. If you don't have the roster depth of the division, or you don't have a non-op of every division, that's what's going to happen. You're going to try to seek out other fights. Because, like, when Crawford wasn't getting – because Crawford, you could say, like, Crawford fought in-house fights over at Top Rank. But – or they would bring in guys on, like, little one fight contracts, like Amir Khan, Kell Brook, just to give them opponents. But with PBC controlling at one point, controlling 147, they just thought they could do it. They could keep control. But you see Crawford's doing something else. I'd just like to see what's next for Spence. And like, I would be. I mean, that would be unfortunate, even though it is. Drew explained it pretty well that if Jaron Ennis gets mandated, he'll vacate and move up. That'd be sad to see because it sucks. Because all of these boxers, I've said it before, because the lack of depth in boxing in general, all these boxers are fighting vacant titles or fighting titles against nobody. Like even if you look at Haney, like if you look in, say if Teofimo were just to maybe do a little something at 140, he's not going to be remembered. And then it would be like, okay, so Loma lost to Teofimo, who lost to Kambosos. It's like, who's Kambosos? So, like, it's just the record when you look at these guys isn't going to be good in the future. And it's like I said before, there are only going to be a few guys out of this era of boxing that are going to remember the heavyweights and Canelo. Well, I don't really see any other guys really standing out to me.
Damn. Lil Penny, you got anything on this, man?
Yeah, I actually picked Spence to beat Crawford because I think.
All right, somebody else. I did too.
Spence has fought better opponents at 147 than Crawford. Who's Crawford fought at 147? But but now that this has happened, I do think that Spence ducked Crawford because remember when they were asking Bud to get a belt at 147? So he did. And then they said, no, you're on the other side of the street. You need to come to our street so that Spence can fight Bud. So he did. And that was a risk too because Bud was earning good money at Top Rank too and fighting nobodies. So that was a risk. So he went across the street. So what does Bud have to do to get this fight made? So I do think that it was a clear duck. But I also got to just to be fair, I do think that Bud is capping here a little bit. To get 25 million each, the pay-per-view has to do over $1 million. Just as a comparison, right? When Pacquiao fought Ricky Hatton, that pay-per-view did 850 pay-per-view buys. Pacquiao's guarantee was 15 million. Hatton's guarantee was 12 million, right? So that's 850. For them to get 25 million, that pay-per-view has to do at least 1.2 million. And that's no way near going to do that. This fight is not a mega fight. It's a good fight, but it's not a mega fight. I think he probably does 700,000 pay-per-view buys. So for him to say 25 million, that's capping, man. I think both of them are capping, to be honest.
Penny,
Yep.
Hey, to add insult to injury, just like Spence said, he's got a
No, Paul, you cut out, brother.
you matter of fact, can I just say something? You know what they call it, Little Penny? Investors.
Well, that's true. When a new entity comes into boxing, they start throwing money around.
And then I thought I heard they say that it wouldn't be pay-per-view, right? Didn't you say that in the video that it wouldn't be pay-per-view with them splitting the 25? I mean, with them both getting.
Is that what he said?
I thought I heard him say that
Well,
it wouldn't be pay-per-view, and that's the reason why they did that because they know how pay-per-view numbers have been like so low. That's why they want to give them both 25 million.
How is this fight that he's doing now for 10 million is a pay-per-view fight? And AB 3-fight deal, $10 million. They're likely all going to be on pay-per-view. So we could see a Terence Crawford versus Adrian Broner fight.
Oh my God.
true.
I'm just saying. And
just remember, Lil Penny, I know what you're talking about. Remember, but Mikey Garcia, he made $7 million against Jesse Vargas. Always remember that, my friend.
Damn.
You know what I mean? And that was crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? So this actually would be a hot fight.
Didn't Amir Khan make 10 million against some guy from where he fought in Dubai? I can't remember who it was, but he made 10 million.
Some people are loaded, dude, and it's like,
what?
There's that theory, and it's funny because you know what I thought was funny about Crawford? I think he picked up on this idea that people think like he's not friendly because he's like, oh, I was over there, I was trying to be charming with Al, I was being real friendly, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure you were, like pretty interesting, but I could see Al Heyman saying, and it's funny because everybody talks about Al, like, Crawford's actually met Al, right? He was able to speak on his interactions with this mysterious guy, right? The guy behind the curtain. And he was sitting there saying like, hey, dude, this guy was dragging it out. I'm not really sure where it falls. I hear what you guys are saying. Like, I want to see that fight too. But I think there's a little bit of capping on both sides. I think there's a lot of pride on both sides. But I would not be surprised if Al Heyman did not want this fight. I would not be surprised if, like Drew says, if the PBC was kind of going broke, transparency to me makes sense, and now all of a sudden, we're business experts, but I just wanted to say that.
Guys, I got a confession to make. I own the BLK Prime. I am the one. They thought they never knew a white guy owned it.
Oh man,
That's the question. But here's the thing. It's in honor of Chicano. Mikey Garcia's goddamn is not an Hall of Famer.
I agree with that. Well, it looks like you answered Annalise's question. I'm not sure if you did that to answer her question. If you did, that's a very smooth move, Drew, but I don't know if it's going to work necessarily.
Hey, Chicano, I think the problem was with that negotiation was Terrence Crawford kept going back to Al and say, "Hey, what does this mean in the contract?" Like he was looking at the contract with a fine-tooth comb, and it was always going back to him. Now I can understand that because sometimes I check people's work, and if they keep coming to me like over and over again, I just get disinterested. Like, I know how that feels a little bit, but I don't, because Terrence Crawford came from Top Rank, and Top Rank contracts are crap, right? They're always in favor of Top Rank, especially on the back end. So for him now to go to Al Heyman, and he's not an Al Heyman fighter, Al should have considered, of course he's going to look at it with a fine-tooth comb. He's probably going to look at every single sentence in that contract so that it makes sense for him. So I think that's what another stumbling block, where Terrence Crawford is looking at that PBC contract with a fine-tooth comb.
Dude, I did not know this, but Nando here is pointing out that the WWE pulled out of their Saudi pay-per-view this weekend, and they make good Saudi money when they go over there. That's interesting. And I want to give a shout out to Joe Lopez, 40 ounce, one of the original people in the chat, man, from back in the day. Nice to see you, man. He says Spence was sitting on Al Heyman's lap while negotiations were going on. Damn.
True.
Well, this is the last subject I want to touch on, and it's kind of relevant still. Oscar De La Hoya came and he pulled rank, man, and he said, "Hey, I have respect for Terrence Crawford and exposing the Al Heyman circus. I've been dealing with this shit for years. I promoted all the PBC fighters, and it's all the same bullshit with them. They are not in charge. I'll be going live soon to elaborate and expose the truth." And he's been talking, like, where he's in Abu Dhabi. He's been doing interviews during the press conferences. Like, I think he's going to go on to say more, but he was sitting there talking back to people on Twitter. He's popping off, and he's pulling rank, dude. He's sitting there going, "Hey, you have to remember that I'm an 11-time 6th division world champion that wants what's best for the fighters." So Oscar De La Hoya has chimed in. So is Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn is saying, "Dude, they need to start doing business with us. The walls might be crashing down." What do y'all think about Oscar De La Hoya coming in here and giving his 2 cents on all this? Let's start with Nopal. What do you think about the Golden Boy coming in talking some shit?
Well, that's good that he came in and said something, but I mean, he's not telling me anything that I don't already know.
That's a good point. I just like that he has a leg to stand on, because all these other promoters, they can say whatever they want, but Oscar, he can come in and say, "Hey, listen, like, I've been where my promoter has to negotiate with another promoter. I've been a fighter where I've taken on all the greatest challenges, and I want to make these fights too." You know what? And while all these PBC fighters or the Heyman fighters were with Golden Boy before the Schaefer split, like, dude, those were some great fights back in the day. They really were. I mean, that was an awesome era. Like, when we went back and kind of did those rescores, and you're kind of looking at the cards and the fights that were going on, you're like, "Oh shit, I forgot that these fights happened." Like, man, they were just making all kinds of damn fights back in the day. Anybody got anything on that before we wrap up this segment? Final thoughts on all this?
Oscar's got a point, though, man. That is true.
It is true, man. Well, I want to give you guys some gratitude for coming on. Right now, we're about to wrap it up and do our fight of the year. Lil Penny, you seem to be a historian, so you're definitely welcome to stay. But if anybody wants to kick off, I totally understand. So if anybody wants to kick off and kind of give their goodbye, right now would be a good time.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out.
All
Drew,
right. Well, the hired gun of Run PMC
Drew.
is leaving, man.
Real quick, Drew. Do you still have the Phillies in 6?
Let's see. He probably does. Drew, are you there?
Probably does.
He
It's
probably
2-1
does.
now, right? I think didn't Astros get a no-hitter in game 3?
Yesterday.
man.
Game 4, I think. I think it's 2-2.
Is it 2-2
All right,
now?
it's 2-2. Yep.
Yeah, 2-2. All right, well, I'll take that as a yes. Anyways, thanks for having me as always, and I'll talk to you all later.
Of course, Run. We'll see you in the future, I'm sure, man. So that was Run PMC. All right, man. Well, let's get into it. And Lil Penny, I always hear you chiming in, man. Do you know anything about Joe Louis?
Yeah, man. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know anything about Bob Pastor, but yeah, Joe Louis is probably the second best heavyweight of all time, to be honest.
Well, we're really enjoying it, dude. What we've been doing is we've been going, and I don't know if you've checked out this new series, but we're going back and checking out historical fights, the fights of the year for every year, purely for entertainment purposes, as far as like how many stars we give it. But we also like to give some historical context. Now, this is the rematch, Joe Louis versus Bob Pastor, number 2. And as you can see on the bill, it's a 20-rounder, a 20-round fight, heavyweight title fight, the first 20-round heavyweight title fight in 25 years. Now, we've already given some information on the great Joe Louis. So if you want to go back, you can take a look at that. But right now, man, this is what happened. So the first fight happened when Joe Louis was on the comeback trail after losing to Schmeling. Okay. After that, he beats Razor Bruddock, right? And then he becomes the world champion, beats Schmeling, right, in a very famous fight. Now he's just on a KO streak, and he's just handling folks. Bob Pastor, like, I kind of looked him up. Nothing really that stands out too much. He kind of had like a freckled career. And then all of a sudden this fight was made. So Joe Louis is just tearing through the competition at this point. And so this is the 1939 fight of the year. So, George, tell us, man, what'd you think about this fight? Did you see any improvements with Joe Louis? What are your thoughts as far as entertainment value goes with this fight?
Yeah, exactly. That was pretty much going to be my breakdown. Is you did see some improvement, definitely. What I noticed in this fight, and I'm sure he has been doing this in his career, is the way he sets up his right hand. He was pretty much leading Pastor going to his right, so he was pretty much cutting the ring off at an angle. And what he does really well is he kind of leans to the right a little bit when he throws his jab, and of course, just to keep stay off the line. And as he's doing that, like it's all one motion, or one segment of him lining up his right hand. So as he's throwing his jab, leaning to his right, he's forcing Pastor to move to Pastor's left. And when he does that, when he throws his right, he steps to his left a little bit more and lands that right hand. And he does that really well. And that was what stood out to me a lot about this fight, is the improvements on getting that more out of the line. He seemed a little more aggressive, and I mean, yeah, it was a rematch, so I'm sure it's because what he expected in this fight. You did see, I think it was 2-3 knockdowns, like in the first 2 rounds. And what I liked in the video, I'm sure you guys saw that they showed like the slow motion and the setup of those punches. So in the last round, when that happened, I noticed it. I'm right here at home, I'm watching the fights. I'm like, damn, he's really doing that really well, and I'm sure many fighters do that. And when I'm watching him fight, I'm trying to compare him to some of the fighters that we've had like in the last 15-20 years, and I really can't think of anybody like right offhand. I feel like he was kind of like his own style at that moment. And like Lil Penny said, he's considered one of the top 2 greatest heavyweights. Going into these shows of us scoring the fight of the years, like I've heard of Joe Louis, so I've never really seen Joe Louis other than us going over these fights. And I mean, man, I enjoy watching what he does. Like, he's got great skill, the way he sets up his punches. Yeah, he lost to Schmeling, I guess, right? And he improved. I see definite improvement. And that's what you should see from a fighter, right? As the years go on, you want to see them improve and do better things, and that's what he did. And those are the things that stood out to me the most, is how he sets up his punches, and it was really nice. And not to say that there was nothing fancy, but he's in there in the pocket. And there's not a lot of bobbing and weaving, like he's depending on his reaction, his blocking. There's not a lot of bobbing and weaving. He does roll with the punch really well, and just the way he was setting up those right hands, man, I was just like, holy shit. So again, watching those slow motions, like it really was more like affirmation to me, like what he was doing. I don't know if you guys caught that, but I guess if we see Joe Louis again, like just watch what he does. He leans to his right a little bit, like I said. He throws that jab, and when he throws his right, he's offline again, and he throws that right hand straight across, and it's a beautiful thing to see. As far as star quality, I'm definitely gonna say that this is more improved than what we've seen of Joe Louis and the fight. Even though it's pretty much one-sided. Out of 10, I would grade this like a 8.5.
Very nice.
Stars.
And great observations, man. Thank you. And that's one of the reasons I even asked it, because I was sitting there going like, holy shit. I kind of started saying like, oh, I think Joe Louis might be a little bit of a one-handed fighter, right? I mean, just based on what I saw. But dude, all of a sudden, like, he's got this awesome right hand that he can set up, and he's landing it. And he put down Pastor in the 11th with the right hand, also knocked him down 4 times in the first round, and then once in the second round, right? And this was an attendance of 32,000, right? So, and the split was about 2-1. Louis made 118,000, while Pastor made $51,000. I thought this was an interesting fight. Their first fight went to decision, but this one was a knockout, so they didn't need all 20 rounds. Nopal, what'd you think about this fight, man?
Great fight, man. I was surprised that the dude got knocked out so many times in the first round. And he was just I guess the bell saved him, on the last knockdown. But I guess the first knockdown was kind of weird because they didn't do no count. He just got up and that's it. And then proceeded to get knocked down again. It was a great little fight. Did you say that it was scheduled to be a 20-round fight, Chicano?
Yep, the first 20-round fight in 25 years.
Oh, okay, but it only made it to what, 12 rounds?
11 rounds.
11, and then he got KO'd, right? It was an entertaining fight, man. That right hand wasn't missing at all. You know what I mean? Especially in the first 2 rounds. He was just kept getting clocked, and great little fight. I give it a 7 out of 10 for entertainment.
Great stuff, and I agree, dude. I think it was a little bit one-sided, but as far as entertainment goes, I would give this fight a solid 7. I would go right around there, 7 stars. One of the things that surprised me, okay, it sounds to me like, and it's okay, right? Because homework's homework, but I went back and I watched the Joe Louis versus Pastor, the first fight, and the dynamics were so different, right? I watched this first fight where Joe Louis is on the comeback trail, and Pastor was dancing and running and dancing, right? And Lewis, and here's another thing. I'm not trying to criticize the guy, but he's not necessarily a guy who's fast on his feet. He's kind of slow moving. He kind of comes at you and he's always in position, but he's not really somebody who cuts the ring off, right? So, I mean, there's a reason that fight went to decision. And I also think that's part of the reason why this was supposed to be a 20-round fight, because if Joe Louis is on this KO streak, right, and you got this guy who's just going to run around, it's like, well, let's make it 20 rounds. You can't dance like that for 20 rounds, man, right? But so I was kind of bored out of my mind. I would not recommend that first fight. I just wouldn't, okay? Nobody would like that, although the crowd was going nuts for it, okay? Maybe they were easier to please back in the day. So I put on the second fight, and all of a sudden, I see Pastor come in, crash the pocket and try to take it to Lewis. I was really surprised, And maybe he knew that he couldn't last 20 rounds, so he's like, well, I'm going to surprise him and blitz him, give him everything I got. I mean, and this guy, he was a pure warrior. He could have easily found a way out early on in this fight. But no, and he decided to stick it out and really try to win this fight. He was getting all bloodied, right? But he just kept on fighting. So I really respect Pastor's attempts to try to make this fight happen, right? But just if you ask me, man, it's just Joe Louis is just on a different level. But ballsy move by Pastor to try to just bring it to him. I don't think anybody was really expecting that. But
yeah,
man,
that's what I was saying. There was really nothing fancy, like you just said. He's just kind of straight. He kind of walks in, and you seen he was cutting the ring off, and then also with Pastor not really trying to evade as much as he could, and that's what he was doing. He was setting up that jab to walk him into his right hand, and he would walk that way to his. Pastor would step into his left into Joe Louis's right hand. I think maybe something from the first fight into the second fight.
That's some great sweet science, man. So yeah, dude, solid fight as far as fights of the years go. I can see why this one there wasn't too much information. Like I said, it's not like Pastor, from what I could tell, was this historical arc rival or anything like that. He's just a solid, just decent opponent, man. But I want to give a shout out to Pastor, who we will never see again. We're going to see Joe Louis again, and we're going to preview our next fight. And you know what? I misspoke. I said that we would never see Henry Armstrong again. We're going to see him again. 1940, right? We got Seferino Garcia versus the legendary Henry Armstrong, and this is for the middleweight fight. Last time we saw Armstrong, I said, well, he was a champion in 3 different divisions, and he went up to a 4th division to middleweight, tried to win, but it ended in a draw. Although a lot of people thought Henry Armstrong won that fight. Okay, now this is that particular fight. Seferino is from the Philippines. Lil Penny, are you Filipino? I don't know if I've ever asked that directly. I just assume. So I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but man, we got ourselves a middleweight champ going up against the great Henry Armstrong, man. So there's enough film for us to get an idea. It's not a full fight, although it was just a 10-rounder, right? And we're gonna get into the history on that too. But we're gonna look at this one, and I want you all to bring your scorecards, right? I mean, I know it's limited film, but we're gonna try to give you what we can as far as whether this was a robbery or not, man.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Good. It's a ringside seat as well. It's on aisle A.
Dude, it's a press seat, man. So we're looking forward to it, and slowly the quality of these fights is getting better. And also, that reminds me, man. So, does anybody have any final thoughts on this before you wrap it up?
Hey, Chicano, I just want to say something about Joe Louis, because sometimes he gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. I think Joe Louis is on par with Ali in terms of the most influential and most popular fighter of all time. Remember when he fought Schmeling the second time, everyone around the world was hearing that fight on the radio, especially in Europe as well, because back then the UEFA Champions League, it wasn't as revered as it is today. So and boxing was probably the most popular sport at that time, whereas in the 70s when Ali fought, I don't think boxing was the most popular sport at that time. And I just think that sometimes Joe Louis doesn't get enough credit. Maybe it's because it's nearly 100 years, it's 20 more years before it's like 100 years since we've seen Joe Louis. But sometimes I don't think Joe Louis gets enough credit for being how good he was. I think he was a great fighter, and also it was on the back of World War II. I think the second fight where it was Western versus like Eastern. It was like Nazis versus I don't know, like the Allies per se. It was such a relevant fight. I think people say that the Ali versus Frazier fight, the first one, was the most relevant boxing event of all time. I think it was the Schmeling Lewis rematch fight, because everyone was in tune to that fight.
Oh, definitely. Another one, dude. The first fight between Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney. That a lot of people were channeled in on that one, dude. We did some history on that one. Holy crap, that was a huge, huge fight at the time. So we're gonna say goodbye to the 1930s, and then as a reference, Lil Penny, you were talking about the World War II, or at least the Nazis, anyways. 1939 was the start of World War II, also when The Wizard of Oz was released. And since we're saying goodbye to the 1930s, we're gonna do it one last time. Some slang trivia for the homies, okay? You guys failed terribly the last time. And we're going to see. Okay. So, all right, let's go for it, man. So let's start. Let's start with you, Georgie. You're up first, man.
Right.
All right. Well, George, I got to say, man, I see you, you're mixing with people that I don't like, and I see you starting to get yourself into trouble, and if you keep this up, you're going to end up in a Chicago overcoat. What do you think that means?
Holy shit. Probably. I mean, maybe in a barrel, you know what I mean, filled with some cement, thrown at the bottom of the, in that lake or that river.
All right, Lil Penny, you got anything on that?
No, man, sorry,
no. Paul, what do you think, man?
Is it some kind of thing that the cops used to throw over you before they arrested you or something?
Oh, okay, like a straitjacket or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah.
All right, well, good guesses, gentlemen. The actual answer is a coffin. That was the old saying, because apparently Chicago, I mean, people are still getting shot up in Chicago, right? But the idea was that, like, if you end up in a Chicago overcoat, that means you're ending up in a coffin.
Okay. I wonder if they still use that.
That's some mob talk.
Yeah.
Here's the second one that we got. All right, you guys ready? Okay, so Nopal. Dude, listen, I heard you're single, man, and there's this girl I want to introduce you to. Okay, now I haven't met her personally, okay, but just so you know, I heard she's a tomato.
Oh, man. I don't know, man. Is it like just a word they use to say she's ugly or something?
All right, George, what do you think? A tomato?
Oh shit. I mean, you smash tomatoes, right? Someone that gets around.
Lil Penny, what do you think, man?
I don't know. Maybe like tomatoes are soft, right? I don't know. Maybe she's a softie. I don't know. Like,
all right. Hey, all fair guesses. If a tomato in the 1930s, in regards to a woman, means that she's good looking. Synonyms would be a dish or a sweet patootie. All right. So,
oh man,
if you ever jump back in time and all of a sudden try to get lined up and they're referred to as a tomato, now you know what to do. Go for it.
Chicano, I have heard a dish. It's on Titanic. What's the name?
Oh yeah.
Remember when she said, "Oh, she's a dish"?
Yeah, I like that term. I've heard that one, a dish. That makes sense. All right, man. Well, this is the Al Chile crew. I want to thank all the special guests that we had. Lil Penny, Drew Evo. It was nice to see Run PMC again. And the Al Chile crew, we are out, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Peace.
Peace.